Hello everyone, welcome to Reggie Talks 2, and today we're going to be talking about chemtrails. What are chemtrails? Well, it all dates back to pesticides. Pesticides are things that are sprayed under the ground, under the fields, where these farmers, they need it so they can keep all those pesky bugs away from their fields. Ever since that big dust bowl, all those bugs, they went over to the fields. But then in the 50s, they had an idea. Those little crop dusters, you would see them flying over the fields. Everything would be nice and fine, everything would be nice and dandy. But what you don't know is that the government is affiliated with that. There is a weather modification theory that arises from two clues. First, the increasing cloudiness and precipitation that sometimes occurs after a day of spraying pesticides. And second, that EDB, ethylene dibromide, or dibromethane, has been found in chemtrail fallout. Ethylene dibromide has similar effects on cloud formation as silver iodide. This chemical, it's normally used in cloud seeding, if you know what I mean. So, these governments, they could be spraying this stuff into the air for only one reason and one reason only. The population of this world is real big, alright? The government, it wants to get rid of that population, so then they won't have to spend much money. Those big investors, man, you don't know what the hell they're doing. They could be investing in trying to kill us right now, and you won't know a damn thing about it. Because you know why? Because we are in the dark. I am here to make sure you are not in the dark. Because I am not the Messiah. Jesus is the Messiah. But me, I am the wizard, and I'm going to tell you that the secrets they've been hiding from you, okay? Alright, here we go. Starting off, if anything, EDB serves partly as a condensation nuclei around which water vapor in the atmosphere can condense, making thick chemtrails visible for satellite tracking. According to Donnie, we took out a satellite the other day because we didn't have nothing to do. We threw it up, we tied it to one of those weather balloons. It went up in the air. You won't believe what we found. Trails left behind by the government. I knew that would be it. I knew it would be it. Now, here, the secrecy of the chemtrail phenomenon is put into the domain of black budget projects. Now, black budget projects are projects that the government does not want you to know about. They are projects only funded by the people with big bucks. So, if you and me tried to get in on this black project, we would be dead. Now, it is unwise to claim that the shadow government, the same one responsible for the Gulf War syndrome cover-up, dangerous biological testing upon unsuspecting American citizens, avocation of fluoride in public water supplies, forceful suppression of alternative medicinal and technological inventions, electric harassment and dissenters, and murder of whistleblowers is spraying that Joe Smo bullshit in Alabama and Oklahoma to contribute to the overwhelming growth of our population. So the black government, the black market, and the shadow government are all working together. They're here. They want to get rid of overpopulation. This world, it's been overpopulated for I don't know how long, alright? So, if you really think about it, they want to wipe us out. They want to wipe out all the good guys, Recently, down here in the Great Laterite floor, we saw those men flying over this yonk, and this monk too. Recently, this monk, they were flying over spraying pesticides on those fields. I didn't say shit. I didn't do nothing. But what I did do, I stared. I took out my binoculars and I saw who was flying that plane. Me, myself, I was damn near surprised. Cause you know who was flying that plane? You know who? One of those f***ing government sleazeballs, that's who. Me and Donnie, we were out there. We were smoking our cigarettes. And, you know what happened? He had 2 cigarettes in his mouth. I stared up there. That man, he looked down at me. And as soon as he was about to walk away, I give him the f***ing finger. I stared at that guy. He's a motherfucker. And I hate those f***ing sleazeballs. Look at it, down in the Listen. Supposedly, chemtrails are an effort to accomplish this. Single agent spraying, whereby what's being applied now to the population will eventually kill them. It is very likely. Right now, people are recovering from a chemtrail-induced sickness, alright? Now let's slow down a bit. What if I told you that chemical-induced sickness is COVID-19? Alright? Listen, now listen very closely. There are 3 pieces to this: chemtrails, gene therapy, and mass human mutation. That, when put together, give rise to the following theory. Ethylene dibromide, dibromethane, I mentioned this earlier. It was banned in 1984 by the EPA, never to rise again, and was never to be brought back. Now let's have a bit of a refresher, shall we? It is a carcinogenic, fuel addictive, and insecticide with a chloroform-like odor. It is claimed similar to silver iodide, which was once used for cloud seeding and weather modification purposes. I mentioned this earlier. Once absorbed, EDB causes central nervous system depression and pulmonary edema, which is fluid accumulation in the lungs. See, if you look back to COVID-19, fluid accumulation in the lungs, that may not have been it completely, but you don't know. You could have not have been able to track that fluid in the lungs. Now, people have been experiencing lung pain. What if that was connected? Now listen, people have been saying stuff, alright? People have been saying stuff. Now, if you don't know what streptomyces is, streptomyces, it's used to produce the majority of antibiotics applied in human and veterinary medicine and agriculture, as well as anti-parasitic agents, herbicides, and pharmacologically active metabolites. Now, let's talk about something a little bit more simple. Crowd manipulation. It's the intentional use of techniques based on the principles of crowd psychology to engage, control, or influence the desires of a crowd to direct its behavior toward a specific action, person, or thing. This practice is common with dictators. You may see where I'm going here. That crowd manipulation effect is also known as the Hitler effect. He sent some of his guards, disguised as normal citizens, into the crowd to cheer for him, right? So, what if the government was using this? They could be using it online, they could be using it in crowds, they could be using it in nowhere for all I know. But listen, these people, they're saying that no pesticides were ever seen in China. Now come on, me and you both know that's They gotta be able to spray that somehow. Now, the government, they're influencing this. They're telling us. They're having people cheering for that. They're saying, oh yeah, China, they're not fucking smart enough to know. But China is one of the fastest growing technological countries in our world. It's very, very, very technologically advanced. If you went there, you would get so cheap. Now I'm not talking good fucking shit, but decent so you could use it in everyday fucking living. In fact, it's so fucking cheap, my mother, with a PC, could upgrade to Windows 10 for like $2. Now, I'll understand if you can't comprehend this. The crowd manipulation is going to appear in a certain part. The part where the people that aren't fond of the subject, place, or thing are located. Now on to the conclusion. And by the way, if you made it this far, you might as well like the video. Or you're just fond of a deranged man going on and on about the government and how they're poisoning society. But look, I don't know everything about this subject, and I'm not trying to be a government rat sack poisoning your brain for a quick buck. I'm no sovereign man, I just have my own views and opinions. And one final thing before you leave, just hear me out for a bit. If you have any ideas for the next Reggie Talks, feel free to put them down in the comments. And if you want to criticize me, go right ahead. I have nothing against it. And finally, last but not least, have a nice day, and make sure you look both ways before you talk to a sleazeball. Bye bye now.